I enjoyed really the weekend in Camp David. It was my first experience with the snow. We don't have in the Middle East snow at all. We had really 3 sessions, 2 private ones and 1 with the delegations. We have agreed upon the fact that the peace process should maintain momentum, and for that the Assistant Secretary Atherton will be coming to the area and shuttling between Egypt and Israel. In the same time, as you know, I have agreed the day I asked my delegation from Jerusalem, I have agreed to President Carter that the military committee convenes, and they have already convened 2 days before I came to you here, and they will continue to convene, but the political committee will be the effort of Atherton when he comes to the area.
You mentioned Jerusalem in your speech. Considering the historical and religious significance of the city, would you consider as part of a final peace settlement the establishment of Jerusalem as an international city of peace under the administrative control and protection of the United Nations?
Well, it has been said before that this is a solution that Jerusalem could be internationalized, but the internationalization in that proposal was only on the Arab part, where the holy places for all of us, the 3 religions. If it is internationalization of the whole city, east and west, I think we can agree upon this. But I agree on a principle that let us not divide the city again. But as I told Begin, and I think lots of you have seen this meeting on the television while I was in Jerusalem, I told Premier Begin that no Arab, Christian or Muslim, and no one in the Muslim world, who are 700 million, will agree to the Israeli sovereignty on the sacred places there in Jerusalem.
If you could devise a best case but realistic prediction for peace in the Middle East, how long would it take to be fully realized?
I have already stated in my speech, and it appears at some time that I was naive, because after my initiative, believe me, I can't find any difficulty in reaching agreement. In not a few weeks, but few days. Believe me. When I went to Jerusalem, when I made my initiative, first of all, we brought down the barrier. My aim was to bring down the barrier of psychological problems, distrust, bitterness, hatred that has been accumulated for 30 years and even before that. And you must have heard me saying that this problem is 70% psychological problem and 30% only of substance. It needs only this. No one should tread on others' land or sovereignty. If this is agreed upon, I assure you less than a week, we can reach an agreement for this whole problem.
The questioner asks, if you fail in your current peace initiative, will you be able to reestablish your credibility with other Arab countries to serve as the leader of a Geneva peace conference?
Well, sometimes I felt really in the after my visit to Jerusalem and after we had the Ismailia talks, and then when the political committee in Jerusalem ended its meetings, believe me, I felt that someone wants me to regret my visit to Jerusalem and making this initiative. But I tell you quite frankly, I shall never regret my visit to Jerusalem. And as I have already stated, I have chosen my fate. My fate is with peace. And it will be, and it will continue to be with peace. I know the establishment of peace is much more difficult than war. And I have exercised both. I know it. But I never feel any, any worry or concern from what is called the rejection camp, and they are 5 of the 21 Arab states. They have done the same after I have made the second disengagement agreement, and they have shouted against me and accused me of treason and everything in the book. But at last they came and said, we are sorry, after the second disengagement agreement. Well, this, they didn't reach, in spite of all the vehement attacks against me now, they didn't reach it. But one act from Begin really was destructive to the utmost. After my initiative, and after those rejectionists who are trying to find something to build upon against me in the Arab world, and so Mr. Begin comes out and says, we shall keep the settlements on your land and we shall defend them by the Israeli army. Really, it was a grave mistake. As I told you, I have dedicated myself, and you must have heard me that when I visited President Assad 2 days before I visited Jerusalem, I told him, I shall be very happy if this will be my last mission as a president of Egypt. I'm of the same idea until this moment.
How could Egypt assure that the West Bank would not be used as a base for attacks on Israel?
Really, I think my initiative has made it, I mean, very easy for Israel and for the United States also to achieve our goal that we are seeking, that we are all after, and that's peace. As I have stated in my speech, I'm not asking Israel any concession. Believe me. I don't need any concession from Israel. I have given them everything when I visited Jerusalem. Before, they were not accepted in the area. I told them, we accept you. Before, we didn't have direct contact or direct negotiations. I went to Jerusalem, while part of my land in Sinai is occupied by Israeli soldiers. Everything really has been given to Israel. I'm not asking for any concession. If they consider that returning the land occupied after 67 is a concession, they are wrong. This is not their land. This was occupied after 67. I'm not asking any concessions from Israel except a very elementary principles that we should work upon to achieve peace. That is, let no one of us tread on the sovereignty or the land of the other, and let us coexist and live as good neighbors.
This is a double question. In view of the lack of spare parts and deterioration of the Egypt's Russian-built aircraft, could Egypt fight an effective war today? And in connection to with that, did President Carter give you any assurances that the United States would sell you the aircraft you're seeking?
Well, it has been my fate also that immediately after the October War, when Dr. Kissinger visited me on November, for the first time, November 73, the Soviet Union became very furious and put an embargo on me since that date, November 73. In the same time, Israel has replaced every arm it lost. All of you know this, and at some time someone in the Pentagon said that the stores of the American army has been sent to Israel. They were replaced every arm they lost in the October War, and much more than that, more sophisticated arms until this moment. Syria, the Soviet Union has done the same. The Soviet Union has replaced to Syria every single arm they lost in the October War, and more than 4 big arms deals in the Syrian arsenal now. Egypt, the Soviet Union put an embargo on me, and refused to replace any arm. I was asking to buy it. We have never had any, free arms from the Soviet Union. We buy it. I have asked to buy the replacements. He refused, and even sent me a very popular message that I declared that they refused to discuss with me the word replacement. And they refused also to discuss with me the rescheduling of my debts. So the main aim of the Soviet Union was to see my arms, which are more than 90% of it Soviet arms, as scrap. But President Carter helped, the British helped, and thank God, last October, a few months before, all my Air Force was in the parade of the 6th of October. Thanks to the Soviets, because they taught us how to find ways and means and to depend upon ourselves. President Carter, I have asked him in Camp David, and this time really, and as I stated in my speech, I consider myself the friend of the United States, and I consider my people are the friends of the American people, and we feel the same reciprocation from your side. I have put the whole situation before President Carter and asked him to take the suitable decision, especially when there are those in Africa who are asking, because of some vicious policies that's adopted there by a big power. Needless to say that I shall not use whatever I receive against Israel, because I told you I have chosen my fate. I am with peace. If I can't do it, well, let someone do it.
Mr. President, we thank you very much for being with us today, and we have for you the Press Club Certificate of Appreciation and the National Press Club necktie. And I have one final question for you. Assuming everything turns out happily in the Middle East, would you and Prime Minister Begin consider an exchange of grandchildren?
There is a joke, really. While I was in Jerusalem, I met with Mrs. Mayer. And I have always described her as the old lady. And we were meeting in the Knesset. I was meeting with the Labour Party there. And the same day I arrived in Jerusalem, one of my daughters gave birth to a child. Then suddenly, while we were in the Knesset room, I was discussing this Middle East problem and so on. So Mrs. Mayer at the end said, "Very well, you are always calling me the old lady. Very well. I have known that a grandchild has been born to you now. Here is my present from an old lady to an old grandfather."
dealing and then we'll prepare ourselves.
هتشوف حد سيبه على على ده. بدعت
as Dr. Ashraf told you.